Welcome everyone to week 2 of the GVG Meta Report. I'm the Shiv. Alright, so unlike last week, we're seeing a lot more definition popping up in the Hearthstone meta post-GVG. Week 1 was mostly everybody having a lot of fun, trying to figure out what's good, what's not good, trying new things out. And, you know, there was a lot of different decks that were popping up. And some of them were good, some of them failed. However, we've been seeing a lot more definition coming out of GVG now. A lot of this was exemplified in the most recent Battle of the Best tournament, which, by the way, congratulations, Carlos. Alright, so we're going to cover each class, the decks they're using, a couple of the cards that are going in it, and we're also going to cover some of the neutrals that are having a huge impact on the meta. Alright, starting off with the Cancer, Paladin. Yes, I'm honestly declaring Paladin to be the new Cancer. While not as annoying as Hunter, it definitely is getting right up there in terms. Muster for Battle, specifically, is probably one of the main reasons for it. The summoning of those little silver hand recruits may not seem like all that impactful until you don't have an AoE or a swipe or anything to deal with it. Paladins are notorious for mitigating your board's potential for damage, so this guy coming in, followed up by the Quartermaster, is just really disgusting. We've been seeing a lot of decks coming out very similar to this. Some of them are even secret-based. Yes, I am saying it. Secret-based Paladins. I know I'm having a little bit of a shock myself, but they are popping up. Whether or not they're good all depends on who is playing it and, you know, what is actually in the meta. But right now they're actually kind of holding their own at about, 57%. In general, Paladins win rates have definitely increased because of Muster for Battle and the next card, Quartermaster. These guys are just, they go hand in hand so well. It's so toxic. Once you see one, the other one's pretty much coming down instantly. There's absolutely no purpose of playing a Muster for Battle with the exception of you already have a Sword of Justice in play. So this Quartermaster coming down is just really disgusting, and it will wreck a lot of things. It's easy to deal with a bunch of 1/1s when you have the tools, but a lot of people are not carrying those tools. I do kind of think that we're going to see a couple things pop up that we don't normally see. Explosive Sheep's definitely going to become part of the new meta. Hell, even Mass Dispel starts finding value because of Paladins. So let's keep our eyes open. Alright, moving on to the next Cancer. Yes, that's right, it's Hunter. Yes, you know, the class that Ben Brode and the rest of the development team have ignored for the past almost 5 months. No matter how much the community has said this is fucking bullshit. So, yeah, it really is, guys. I'm sorry. They're still doing their little shenanigans. You know, Feign Death is definitely getting a lot of value even in the aggro decks, but we are seeing more control mid-range decks popping up using Sylvanas Windrunner and your typical Sludge Belchers and things of that nature to get great effect. It's actually quite devastating. They're getting huge board zergs. One of the other things we've been seeing popping up is a Death Rattle Mech Synergy type deck. What's really interesting about this is you wouldn't think it would be all that strong, but it kind of is. It's a more balanced approach to the whole aggro effect, and it's actually doing not horrible. I was actually quite shocked by how effective it was. And the Metal Tooth Leaper really helps that out. Though, to be perfectly honest, the only time I really want to see a Metal Tooth Leaper is when I pull it with a Gaslow. That's me. But I have been seeing some hunters running this. It's actually kind of funny because you don't see it coming, and I think that's the point. Alright, moving on to the next one, the Mage. Alright, so a lot of people don't care for Flame Cannon, but it is making an impact, especially because of spider tanks and other things with 4 life. Alright, yeah. You could freeze something on mana curve and then ping it the next turn. That's fine, but you're having to invest 2 mana on your next turn, where instead now Flame Cannon allows you to remove it right out of the way. This has actually been really interesting because it's been allowing for some interesting combination plays of board wipes to, establish a dominance for the Mage player. And I like that. I've been having a lot of fun with it myself. It's a lot of fun. but it's probably never going to replace the Frostbolt, just due to the fact that mages also have Ice Lance. So. Alright, and of course the Snow Chugger, again, MVP all day long. This guy is just wrecking shit all over the place. I've seen so many aggro and mid-range type decks that are popping up all using Snow Chuggers, or any kind of thing that gives freeze. So it's like Snow Chuggers, Water Elementals, and they're just going to town with it. You know, the idea here is basically, you know, tempo them down, and they'll probably kill the Snow Chuggers off, but then they won't have anything for the Water Elementals, and oh look, here comes the Dreamsicle, and you eat a bunch of damage. It's really nasty, it's very bursty, but hey, one of the other decks we saw making a resurgence is actually Freeze Mage. Yes, Freeze Mage. Freeze Mage has been adopting a couple of the cards from GVG. Most notable of them, ironically enough, was the Exploding Sheep, or Explosive Sheep. I love these guys. So, yeah, it's basically you always have a 2 damage AoE on demand at like 4 or above. That's actually quite cool. Normally this was the realm of Paladins. Now they have it. The only downside is you also do 2 damage to your board. I guess that's a trade-off for getting it for 4 mana. Though the sheep is only 2, you still got to use your hero power. Alright. Now, going on to Warrior. Yes, I know, Shiv, that's not a GVG card. I know. I know. We've been seeing 2 defined decks coming from Warrior. Mid-range is still trying to find where it's supposed to be, so we can't report anything on that as of yet. But what we have been seeing is your typical control variants and the new Wombo Combo, or Miracle Warrior, as some have been calling it. What makes this really cool is Raging Worgens. It's mostly a delaying game, and like you would normally find in your typical Warrior decks, but then when they have that open area and they've drawn everything they need, they throw down the Worgen and Inner Rage. Inner Rage is the activator for almost all of this, because we're also talking Rampages, we're talking Charge, Raging Worgens. That's a lot of damage. I actually figured this out, and it was like, boom, have 26 damage without even trying. Okay? There are not many classes that can survive a hit like that. Ironically, one of them is Warrior. So, yeah, it's pretty disgusting. And of course, can't talk about Warrior without the Shield Maiden. I love Shield Maiden. This little chick is so amazing. I was skeptical at first, but I've seen the light. I've been having so much fun with this. It's literally made my opponents just pull their hair out. Because, oh, I've got Shield Block. Oh, I've got Armor Smiths. Oh, I've got Shield Maiden. I've got more armor than you can shake a stick at. I've been hitting 40 to 60 armor every single game. And that's what I'm ending with. Not with the max I ever got. It's what I'm ending with. Okay? So I'm getting an insane value out of these minions and all the other armor effects. So much so that I'm pretty sure Blizzard's going to have to re-examine how armor works. But who knows? Who knows? Alright. Next up on the chopping block is Priest. So, I had some time this week to actually play around with Priest, and had a lot of fun with it. But what was really shocking is I had a concept using Shadow Bomber that I hadn't got around to, and I was running on the ladder, and I faced off a Priest. And it was basically a very similar concept that I was designing, but had yet to test. And they were using Shadow Bombers, and I was like, wow, I'm not the only one who thought this was a great addition. I ended up talking to the guy immediately afterwards. He was like, yeah, actually, it was kind of, I saw this deck on YouTube, and I was like, what was it called? Spanish Inquisition? Hi, I'm that Shiv. Oh! So, literally took the concept from way back and readapted it, and he did very well with it. I myself got to play with it, and I was wrecking Control Warrior. I was wrecking Mage, Shaman. Nobody knows what to do with it. The fact of the matter is, this is 3 damage for 1 mana. Yes, you're taking 3 yourself, but you kind of want to ignore that when you're talking about an aggro priest build. It's still 3 for 1. That's great value no matter how you look at it. Alright. Next up is the Light of the Naru. This card has been making a huge impact. Most notable, priests are now able to play their Injured Blade Masters, turn 4, give it health, and get a Light Warden out. Do you know how impactful that is? I mean, seriously, that is impactful because the 4/6 that you'll be dealing with is already annoying as hell to deal with. Ask any rogue how annoyed they are at 4/6 and 4/7. They'll tell you all day long. All right? But now you throw in something that every time you heal is going to grow? Screw that. All right? So huge impact. It ends up countering a lot of tempo, forces some plays that your opponent generally are not going to be happy with. It's an amazing spell. I highly recommend you check it out. It's got a lot of potential, but it's also giving more strength to Priest, okay? Their controls and mid-range kind of decks are still trying to stabilize out somewhat, but they're getting there. They are definitely getting there. All right, moving on to the next card. We're looking at the Rogue. Yes, the Goblin Auto Barber. He was last week, and he's back again because he is that impactful. During the Battle of the Best, we saw this guy in every single Rogue deck. I mean, boom. Simply because, hey, adding more damage to your weapon is an important thing for a Rogue. And if you get a body to boot, that's even better. So this guy, huge impact for the Rogues. We've been seeing a couple different variants. People who took the typical Miracle build, kind of like shuffled out all the end game like burst potential, and then shuffled in more of Ragnaroses and Cairns and things of that nature to kind of go almost more back to a tempo-ish. Even Dr. Boom's making an appearance. Yes, he makes an appearance in Rogue. It's kind of silly, but it works. One of the other things we're also seeing is he's great in the little mech tempo decks that they're putting out there. And another card that has also been impactful, especially in the last tournament for Battle of the Best, Sabotage. This guy came up. Unfortunately, he did not get as much value, but in theory, with the new amount of weapons out there, also the favoritism of Warlock amongst all tournament players, Sabotage actually gets some value. Here's why. So, you're Rogue, you're facing a handlock. Okay, they bring out Jiraxis. This sucks. They get out an Infernal. This really sucks. Congratulations. You sabotage the Infernal, as long as you combo this out. Sabotage the Inferno, and oh, look at that. Jiraxis now has no fists. It's not as good as a Harrison Jones, but at that late in the game, all that card draw probably not going to be as helpful. So Sabotage definitely is getting a lot of value, especially, you know, when you consider Shamans are playing power maces, other rogues are playing more weapons, Paladins are getting more weapons. A lot of things are getting a lot more weapons. And, yeah, it's really quite important. Not to mention the fact that Blingtron can give anybody a freaking weapon. So, keep your eyes open. It's definitely a card that I think needs a little bit more investigating, a little bit more playing with, but it has a great amount of potential. All right. Neptulon. Yes, a legendary. Neptulon, one of the elemental lords. Matter of fact, this one is of water, if you could not figure this out. All right. So, why is this guy here? Well, he's actually been showing up as the current champion of the endgame potential for Shaman. And in all honesty, it makes perfect sense when you consider what he does. Alright, so he's 7/7. Yes, Big Game Hunter bait. We know this. And yes, Big Game Hunter is making a comeback because there's so many 7/7s being played right now. It's not even funny. But why Neptulon is cool is his battle cry gives you a possibility of some really nasty board presence instantly behind that. So you can have a lot of fun with that. I got this in Arena, and I ended up getting, what was it, 2 War Leaders and a Murk-Eye. And one other thing, I believe it was the Grimscale Oracle. So suffice it to say, when I hit him in the face, he was not a happy camper. It was a lot of fun. So yes, I like this guy. definitely is just something to really have to contend with. For a class card, it's actually pretty decent. Alright, the other card is the Power Mace. This card has been showing up so much in Shamans, it's almost an auto-include. The reason why it's showing up so much is because of the death rattle. Now, you would think, well, Shaman got like, what, 1 mech? Yes, they did. The Whirling Zap-O-Matic, which I still think is a fantastic card, and actually works great with this. But that death rattle opens up some very unique possibilities. Case in point, you go turn 3 with this, right? You attack your opponent's face, attack whatever, alright? Now, your next turn, you play something like an Arcane Nullifier. Congratulations, you now have a 4/7 taunt that can't be targeted by spells or hero power. That is huge. That is so huge. You have no idea. And it's going to be really nasty for people to get around. In some ways, I would say that combination is better than a Sunwalker. The only difference is Sunwalker at least is going to have a little bit more sustainability. But this is actually pretty damn cool. Downside is, guess what? That combination is still killable by the Black Knight. Keep this in mind. But other things become quite interesting as well. Okay, so Mech Warper now becomes a 4/5. A Yeti Mech Warper. Mechanical Yeti becomes a 6/7. So instantly turns it into a Boulder Fist Ogre. That could be really huge. And of course, Antique Healbot. You know, the thing that heals everybody for 8. Yeah, I love that guy. Actually, he annoys the piss out of me so much because he shows up everywhere. But that now becomes a 5/5, and that's really good value if you think about it. So definitely Power Mace, huge card. If you don't have it, craft it. If you like Shaman, craft Power Mace. Alright, going on to Warlocks. Now, when people saw the Floating Watcher, they were like, oh god, that card is... No, it's not. This guy is probably like the unsung champion of Warlock Arena victories, and he does really good in Constructed as well. We've been seeing a lot of demon decks popping up in the meta. Even in some Zoo decks, this guy pops up. And it's really quite interesting. Getting this guy out free because of Void Caller is like, okay, yeah, but you could have just played it that turn. Right, but if I can get this guy out for free, that leaves me a whole lot more stuff I could do. I'm okay with that. Because it's a 4/4, it slides underneath Priest until you want to make it offensive. But mind you, the moment you make it offensive, Priest can knock the crap out of it. So keep this in mind. But this is definitely something that's pretty much a must include in every single demon deck that I've seen out there. So it's a lot of fun. I liked it. This led to a great string of victories in Arena for me, so I highly recommend checking it out. Alright, Implosion. Ah, yes. Now, I should have done Warlock as the third class I was covering simply because of Implosion. I really should have, but I'm being nice to them because I've railed on Zoo players for like ever and a day. Alright, so Implosion. Deal 2 damage, or 2 to 4 damage, to a minion. Summon a 1/1 imp for each damage dealt. Now, some people say, oh, it's kind of like Bane of Doom. But it doesn't suck. Most of the time, I've found that you're getting like 3 to 4 off of this guy. Though, when you need it to do 4, it'll only do 2. So, the reason why this is here this week is because of what's been happening in Warlocks. Zoo decks have gone their normal standard approach, and then a few of them decided, hey, I want to play with Sea Giants. This is not an unheard of concept. We've seen it before. Matter of fact, Mr. Noxious has advocated that, you know, Sea Giants make sense in Zoo decks. In some ways they did. But now with Implosion, it's way more practical. I mean, come on. You're getting all those minions out there. So, yeah, definitely been impactful. We've been seeing a lot of the Sea Giant deck, and if it wasn't for Implosion, they wouldn't be either. So, definitely gets the cut this week. All right. Druid. Okay, so Druids have mostly been sticking to their old play forms. They've added a few cards here or there. But what we have been seeing is anodized Robocup popping up in the faster Druid decks that need like just a little bit of early game, mitigation. And the anodized Robocup kind of covers that role pretty decently. There have been arguments made that like, oh, wouldn't you just rather run an Annoyotron? Sure. Wouldn't you rather run like 2 Annoyotrons and 2 of these as well for your early game? I would. So these guys have been popping up. They're very interesting. I like them. I like to choose on this because there are times where a 3 attack minion is way more preferable to put down, like especially because of Undertakers or Northshire Clerics. But against like Zoo type decks, you're most of the time going to want to go with the 2/3. So yeah, that's always a good thing. Druid of the Fang has actually been making an appearance in the more traditional ramp decks. And the reason why this is showing up is because many a times you will find yourself playing out your Druid of the Claw, and it'll still be there for the next turn. So getting a 7/7 on the board for 5 mana is a good thing. So we've been seeing that popping up here and there, but most of the community and the pro players have still not fallen in love with this card yet, so to speak, but time will tell. Alright, the Arcane Nullifier. We are in our neutrals. Arcane Nullifier has been making a huge presence in the meta. In the Battle of the Best, Arcane Nullifiers were all over that damn tournament. I mean, this guy is so impactful, it's disgusting. Now, yes, it can't be targeted spells or hero power, and it's literally 4 mana for 2/5. That's kind of crappy if you think about it in so many ways. But because of things like Power Mace, because of things like Tinker's Oil, because of anything that interacts with mechs, this guy gets some really interesting value. So that's kind of cool. Side note, Tinker's Oil cannot target this. Sorry about that one. But other things can. Alright? So I've even seen people playing this down, the next turn dropping a Dark Iron Dwarf, buffing this up to a 4/5, and slamming it into something. And then their guy was still pretty much safe, so they had the 4 to attack with next turn. So this guy is definitely limiting options for your opponents and giving you a little bit of a buffer. And in Shaman, he's really, really disgusting. Alright. Next up we have is the Clockwork Gnome. Okay. Every person has played with the Clockwork Gnome at least once. Alright. Aggro decks have been using it. Mid-range decks have been using it. Control decks not as much, but a few. It's really good. The Death Rattle works great with Undertaker. Almost too well. The spare part can really help you out in a bind and add a lot more value to the card itself. And of course, who doesn't like that? And unfortunately, the train is going by right now, so we will just wait. And I think it's safe. Alright. Moving on to the next card. Antique Keelbot. I brought this up earlier. This guy is actually super impactful to the meta right now. Warlocks, Handlock, I'm not even shitting you, are playing this card. Okay? They're buying themselves another turn before they have to do it. So trying to Zerg rush down a Handlock, yeah, Zoo, get fucked. Not going to happen. Alright? It's not. Antique Keelbot has been definitely showing itself everywhere. Rogues are loving this card because, 2 mana more and they're getting like double plus. Alright? They're literally getting 133% more back. So, who doesn't like that? Actually, my bad. 166% back. So rogues love this card. It's really, really, really disgusting. And because it's a mech, let's not forget, Power Mace says you're a 5/5. A lot of other things too. Even hunters are using this. I kid you not, hunters are using this. okay? Metal Tooth Leaper onto this guy after he's already done his effect, and he can attack 5 damage. It's like, hi, insta-kill command. Plus, I got healed from it. Thanks. So, we already knew this card was going to make an impact and was going to give a lot more reach for a lot of classes that didn't have any healing or mitigation options. So, we should not be surprised by this being that great. Alright, and the last card we have to deal with is a doctor of sorts, though I don't know of anybody he has healed. It is Dr. Bo... Really? Anyhow, so, Dr. Boom. Here's why we love Dr. Boom. Dr. Boom, 7/7, really nasty. And his battle cry. Summon 2/1/1 Boombots. Now these guys explode, do damage, and the damage is random. That means it could go to your opponent's face or it could go to his minions. That's great. You can't get much more value than this card. Alright? Seriously, like Trump's value meter is broken after he looked at this card. So, where have we been seeing this? Oh, obviously, Druid's been playing the living shit out of this damn card. So has Paladin. So has Hunters. Even Rogues have played it. Shamans are playing it. Warriors love this card. This card has literally replaced like some key cards from Warrior Control. Like they're going, I don't really need this, or I don't need an Armor Smith. I've even seen people actually replacing like Ragnaros with this guy because he's more directable in its own little way. So yeah, the guy is definitely making an impact. He's just so good. He is so damn good. Alright? Even if you AoE, you're still taking damage. Even if you kill him, you still got the bots to deal with. And they're still gonna wreck shit. Alright? It's just... And he's actually created his own meta logic. He who plays Dr. Boom first wins. Alright? Ramping this guy out, turn 3. Yes, I do mean that. The 3rd turn. It is possible. Just wrecks everything. It wrecks everything. And in all honesty, you could get this guy out turn 2 with a Druid. Alright? Let's not pretend like Druids don't get that insane RNG luck draw. This guy can come out turn 2. There's nothing you can do, okay? There's nothing. You're going to be eating 7 damage every single turn, plus the Boombots. That's 9. Even if you can do anything about the Boombots, congratulations. You're going to be taking even more damage. I mean, he's just so nasty. He is. Definitely one of the best reasons to carry a big game hunter or a brawl. Though brawl is counterproductive because the bots will still explode if they die from the brawl. Though at that point, I think you want a bot to survive rather than this guy. Now, that's all the cards for this week. A couple of things we have been noticing. Harrison Jones has been upgraded in status, so to speak. He used to be a nifty tech, you know, if you got it, it's cool to have. Now it's almost getting to the point where you really need to have it. If you don't have it, you're at a disadvantage. Because so many new weapons are in play, plus Jiraxis, you're going to get value out of Harrison Jones most of the time. So, really important to start looking at crafting him. Works great. Alright, so that is the end of this week's Meta Report. Don't forget to tune in next week for Week 3's Meta Report. Also, don't forget to check out Deck Talk this Friday. Do not forget to check out my stream and everything else that I do. Subscribe to this channel, like, share, all that other fun stuff. This is the Shiv saying, till next week, good luck.